The Korea National Intelligence Service NIS conducts a surprise raid on the factory. A young director Choi speaks with Professor No over the phone. They discuss the operation, which leads to the detention of Dr. Jonas's team and the other researchers. However, it appears Dr. Jonas's team secretly kept one last sample of the virus alive. Eventually, the agents search the facility and seize the sample. Director Choi reassures the professor that everything is under control. Afterward, Director Choi secretly goes to retrieve the samples. To do this, he meets Mrs. Gwon at an abandoned shopping mall. Mrs. Gwon gives Director Choi a blueprint for a portable vault designed to carry the sample. However, she mentions that the vault can only be cracked open by Mr. Che's daughter, Jagyong. Mr. Che was the assassin assigned to steal the last sample from the facility. Director Choi shows concern about Jagyong's personality disorder. However, Mrs. Gwon mentions that she is highly skilled and will be able to crack the vault easily. As they talk, the spies working for Mrs. Gwon are beheaded. Fortunately, Director Choi escapes safely. The scene then transitions to Jagyong at her father Mr. Che's funeral. She has a flashback of retrieving his dismembered body. Seeking revenge, she brutally kills the man responsible for his death. At the funeral, a person named Yeon Mo-young asks Jagyong to meet him at his shop. Mo-young has been hired by Director Choi to convince Jagyong to help crack the vault.
나 작업 하나만 해주라. 메이드인 스웨덴인데.
At first, she refuses, but later accepts the offer. Eventually, Jagyong retrieves the vault and hands it over to Mo-young. After the job is done, Mo-young shoots Jagyong and pushes her into the dam to cover his tracks. However, Jagyong survives and has the sample from the vault, which she secretly took before handing it over to Mo-young. On the other side, the NIS receives news that the sample is missing. The vice director and director Sa suspect Director Choi's man's involvement. The vice director expresses concern about Paul's reaction. Paul is a member of the U.S. intelligence agency, CIA, on a mission to cancel the Tyrant Project. The vice director asks Director Sai to meet Choi to understand his true intentions. Elsewhere, Director Choi orders one of his men to kill Mo-young after retrieving the vault from him.
네, 전부. 여긴 제가 하겠습니다.
However, Mo-young finds this and goes into hiding with his men. Meanwhile, Choi meets with Professor No, and they go to his safe house to hide. It is revealed that a program similar to the Tyrant Project is taking place in the Philippines. Surprisingly, the program is being run by Director Paul. His subordinate explains that their serum needs to be administered directly to the brain, whereas the virus sample developed in Korea works simply through skin or mucus contact. Realizing this, Director Paul prepares to leave for South Korea to obtain the last sample.
All right, to Korea.
The next scene shows a villager wandering through a forest. There, he comes across a gruesome, human-like creature. As the creature approaches, the man tries to run for his life. Fortunately, sunlight falls on the creature, causing it to explode. However, its blood splashes into the villager's eyes, entering his body. Later, a man named Lim Sang visits the villager's house, introducing himself as a reporter. In reality, he is a notorious assassin tasked with eliminating those involved in the Tyrant Program. Lim Sang shows the villager a picture of a creature, causing him to react in horror. Without hesitation, Lim Sang pulls out his gun and brutally kills both the villager and his wife. He then sets the house on fire to cover up his horrific act. Meanwhile, in a hidden clinic, Jagyong is receiving treatment for her wounds. The doctor treating her calls Mr. Seong and informs him that he has found Jagyong. Mr. Seong, a gangster boss who runs a club, has placed a bounty on her head. Meanwhile, Director Choi's team traces the call and rushes to eliminate Jagyong before the NIS can reach her. However, the NIS team arrives at the building and kills the doctor. When they encounter Jagyong, she realizes that these men were the ones who killed her father. Overcome with rage, she kills all of them. By the time Director Choi's team arrives, Jagyong has already slipped out of the building undetected. Finally, Director Esa meets with Director Choi and accuses him of running an unauthorized operation. However, Director Choi denies the allegations and mocks Sa for teaming up with Paul. This infuriates Director Sa, who warns Choi to watch his words.
야, 최국장.
Despite this, Choi remains unfazed. After the meeting, Director Choi meets Professor No, who is seated in a car. Without hesitation, Choi kills him on the spot and pushes his car off a cliff into the water. That night, Lim Sang tortures one of Mo Young's men, demanding to know Mo Young's whereabouts.
여기가 맞는 거죠?
He continues questioning him until satisfied, then shoots him in the head. Meanwhile, Choi's team attempts to open the vault but realizes that the last few digits of the code have been manually changed. Later that night, Paul meets with the vice minister and expresses his frustration.
근데 그보다 더 최악인 게 뭔 줄 알아요? 무능한데 욕심은 더럽게 많은 새끼들.
The vice minister apologizes and assures him that Director Choi will be eliminated soon. However, Paul declares that he will now handle Director Choi himself. Meanwhile, Jagyong goes to a compound to meet an arms dealer. She asks him for weapons and bullets. A Russian man tries to misbehave with her, prompting Jagyong to kill the thugs. Moreover, she forces the arms dealer to reveal Mo Young's whereabouts before killing him too. The next day, Paul meets Director Choi near a riverside. After a brief conversation, Paul asks Choi about the sample.
형은 형네 회사 소속이었고.
However, Director Choi shows negligence and remains unbothered. Elsewhere, Lim Sang goes to a building in search of Mo Young, but instead finds one of his men. After questioning him about Mo Young's location, Lim Sang kills him on the spot. Jagyong also arrives at the building and comes across Lim Sang. At first, he does not recognize her. However, after seeing a picture of her, he realizes that he needs to kill her as well. He rushes to chase her, but a group of teenagers surrounds him, causing him to lose sight of her. At the NIS building, the vice minister talks with Director Esa about the Tyrant Program. He reveals that the program's purpose is to create an army of people with superpowers.
중국의 507 연구소랑 인체과학 연구회가 뭐 하는 데인지는 알지?
He also mentions that America and China are working on similar projects. Later, Paul meets with Director Choi again and reveals that he has records on Choi and his associates. He warns Choi and demands that he hand over the sample.
그래도 기왕에 죽을 거면 좀 편하게 죽는 게 낫지 않겠냐? 안 그래?
살벌하네.
However, Choi questions his hypocrisy, asking why Korea is forbidden from developing advanced weapons, while other nations are allowed to. Paul dismisses Choi's argument and threatens to kill all his men.
끝까지 가보겠다는 거냐? 진짜 싹 다 죽인다.
Their conversation is interrupted when Paul receives word that Mo Young has been found. Meanwhile, NIS agents locate Mo Young, who surrenders and claims he is willing to cooperate with them. The next night, Jagyong secretly sneaks into Seong's office to ask about Mo Young. Seong explains that he received orders from someone to put a bounty on both her and Mo Young. When Jagyong asks who gave the order, Seong refuses to say, claiming it is government business. As they converse, Jagyong senses someone outside. Suddenly, gunfire erupts, killing Seong and all his men. Fortunately, Jagyong dodges the bullets and escapes. Outside, she comes face to face with Lim Sang, who points a gun at her. However, she also has her gun aimed at him. A gunfight breaks out between them, leaving both badly injured. They hide to regain control of the situation. Meanwhile, Lim Sang receives a message that Mo Young has been found. Eventually, Jagyong convinces Lim Sang to team up with her to kill Mo Young. On the other side, Director Sa is transporting Mo Young when Paul's men intercept their car. Paul takes Mo Young and promises to deliver Choi's head in return. In the car, Mo Young expresses his disappointment in Director Choi for trying to kill him. Choi coldly justifies it as a necessary sacrifice for the nation.
그게 우리 일이잖아. 그러라고 나라에서 당신 월급 주는 거야.
Moreover, he blames Mo Young, claiming he is the reason they are now in Paul's custody. In the meantime, a tail is spotted, leading to a high-speed car chase. As the pursuit intensifies, Paul realizes that the pursuers are Lim Sang and Jagyong. The scene escalates as Lim Sang and Jagyong manage to knock down one of Paul's men's cars. However, when they attempt to attack the second car, they are met with fierce resistance. The men inside are revealed to be superhuman. One of them stops Lim Sang's car with force and pushes it into a field. Meanwhile, Paul arrives at Director Choi's safe house, where they kill everyone except those handling the vault. However, when Paul sees the vault, He finds it empty and immediately suspects that Choi has deceived him. Choi, however, insists that he has no idea where the Tyrant sample has gone. Back in the field, Jagyong continues fighting one of the superhumans. Eventually, Lim Sang shoots him, saving Jagyong. Badly injured, she realizes that the sample she was hiding has broken and comes into contact with her. Seeing this, Lim Sang decides to shoot her. However, she makes a deal with him, asking him to let her kill Mo-young first.
일단 연모형한테 가자고. 우리 볼 일은 그 뒤에 보기로 했지.
On the other side, Paul becomes furious and starts killing the remaining 4 men of Director Choi's team. When it is Mo-young's turn, he reveals to Paul that Jagyong has taken the sample.
국가는 차량 금고 3분도 안 됐었단 년이야. 저딴 케이스는 씨발 껌이지.
At that moment, Lim Sang and Jagyong enter the building. Jagyong engages in a fight with one of Paul's strongest superhumans. Meanwhile, Lim Sang seizes the opportunity and kills Paul. As Jagyong continues battling the superhuman, Director Choi realizes that she has transformed into a tyrant. Eventually, she overpowers the superhuman and kills Mo-young. Afterward, Lim Sang opens fire on Jagyong. Before continuing, Director Choi checks on her and relaxes when he sees that she has adapted to the creature inside her. The Director Choi orders to turn on bright lights, weakening Jagyong. Then, Lim Sang fires at her, explaining that the creature inside cannot handle bright lights. While Lim Sang is distracted, Jagyong shoots out the lights and knocks him down. Choi warns Jagyong to find a dark place before dawn because daylight will be a problem for her.
빨리 가. 더 늦으면 너 힘들어져.
He also tells her that government agents will arrive soon to capture her.
빨리 가라. 더 늦으면 너도 죽고 우리도 다 죽어.
Hearing this, Jagyong quickly escapes. Shortly after, Director Sa arrives with his men. Choi comments that Sa should be happy Paul is dead. However, after noticing Sa's reaction, Choi realizes he is working with Head 1. Knowing they are trapped, Lim Sang tries to escape. He is shot several times but manages to jump out of a window into the water. In the end, Director Choi is the only one left from the Tyrant Program. Director Sa threatens him, demanding to know where the last sample is. But Choi simply says, "The Tyrant is ours," and shoots himself.
복구는 누릴 거야. 잊어.
This enrages Sa, as he loses his last chance to find the sample. Meanwhile, Lim Sang is on the verge of passing out underwater when Jagyong pulls him. The scene then shifts to 15 years earlier, where a young Jagyong seeks help from Mr. Che. He welcomes her inside and decides to adopt her.